Since early 2025, Deep Sleep Stories has been shared freely, and I'm so grateful for your support. To keep the show sustainable, we're making a change. Free episodes will now come out on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, and they'll include brief ads only at the very beginning. If you'd like the full experience, premium membership on Patreon includes daily episodes, ad-free listening, no extra announcements, the full back catalog ad-free, and a private feed for your favorite podcast app. Spotify listeners should find the experience stays essentially the same after signing up. If you choose to join, you'll be directly helping support the show and keep it going. The link for signing up for premium can be found in the episode show notes. And whether you listen on the free feed or as a member, thank you for being here.
Welcome and settle in with Deep Sleep Stories, where the world grows softer and the day gently fades away. Tonight's tale will drift you into the moonlit ocean, following a dolphin who loved bedtime more than anything, and who carried that tender love like a secret lullaby beneath the waves. As you listen, let your body become comfortably heavy. Allow your shoulders to loosen as if warm water is smoothing them from the inside out. Let your jaw soften. Let your tongue rest. If your hands are holding anything, you can let it go now. And if your thoughts are holding anything, you can let that go too. Imagine you are near a quiet shore at dusk. The air is cool and clean, touched with salt. The sky is a slow painting of deep blue and fading peach, and the sea answers with a gentle hush, one long exhale over and over. Each wave arrives with patience and leaves without hurry. Breathe in slowly, as though you could breathe in that calm, and breathe out as if you could send away the last of the day's sharp edges. In and out, unhurried. With every breath, the distance between you and your worries grows wider, like a tide pulling them back. Let the sound of the water carry you. Let the story begin. In a part of the ocean where the currents moved like slow ribbons of silk, there lived a young dolphin named Lumen. The sea around him was a wide, gentle world of coral gardens and swaying seagrass, of shadowy arches carved into rock and sandy plains that shimmered like stardust when the sun was high. Schools of fish glittered there like scattered coins, and the water held a quiet music that only those who truly listened could hear. Lumen was curious, like many dolphins, and clever in the bright, playful ways that dolphins often are. He could twist through bubbles as if they were doorways. He could leap and spin, drawing silver commas in the air. He knew the reefs by touch and echo, the way a person might know their own home by memory and warmth. But Lumen had something else, something unusual and sweet. Lumen loved bedtime, not just the idea of sleep, not just the relief of closing his eyes, but the entire gentle ceremony of night itself. He loved the way the light softened first, how the sun, tired and golden, would slip lower until the sea became a deepening blue. He loved the moment when the surface turned to brushed metal, reflecting the first shy stars. He loved the hush that arrived in the water like a blanket settling over a child. Some dolphins, when dusk came, grew restless and eager, still chasing the last bright hour, still darting and splashing and calling to one another. Lumen would join them for a little while because joy was part of the day and he enjoyed joy as much as anyone. But beneath all the play, he would feel something else, a tender anticipation, as if night were a dear friend making its way toward him. When the sky began to dim, Lumen would slow down. He would swim just beneath the surface, watching how the colors changed. He would listen to the shifting song of the ocean, the way daytime sounded crisp and lively, and nighttime sounded rounder, deeper, more secret. He had a favorite place for bedtime, too. Tucked into the curve of a reef, there was a sheltered lagoon where the water was calm and warm. A crescent of pale sand lay there like a resting moon, and above it rose a rocky overhang, hollowed into a shallow cave. It wasn't dark inside, not truly. The water carried light even at night, faint and blue, and sometimes tiny glowing plankton drifted past, turning the cave into a slow sky of its own. Lumen would bring himself there as the day ended, and he would hover in the water with a peaceful stillness. Dolphins did not sleep the way land creatures did, not sinking into a complete darkness all at once. They rested in a half-sleep, one side of the mind drifting while the other stayed gently aware. Lumen found this fascinating, and he treated it like an art form. He would arrange his bedtime as carefully as a seabird tucking its head under its wing. He would take slow loops around the lagoon, letting his body unwind. He would click softly, echoing the cave walls, listening to how the sound returned to him like a whisper. He would pass by the seagrass and feel its delicate brush against his side, as if the ocean itself were smoothing him into calm. Then he would settle into his gentle rest, drifting in the quiet water, carried by a current so soft it felt like being rocked. Other dolphins noticed, of course. "Bedtime again?" teased a young dolphin named Corin, who liked to race the waves until the moon climbed high. "You're always first to settle," Lumen would answer with a happy flick of his tail. "Night is beautiful," he would say, and his voice would hold a soft certainty like a pearl held safely in the mouth. "Why would I miss it?" Some dolphins laughed, some rolled their eyes in playful affection, some swam off, still busy, still bright with daytime energy. But a few, listening more closely, felt something in Lumen's words, a calm that was contagious, a quiet invitation they did not yet understand. One evening, as the ocean cooled and the sky began its gentle dimming, something unexpected happened. A new sound drifted through the water. It was not the song of whales far away, nor the clicking conversation of dolphins nearby. It was a low, humming tone, steady, tender, and strange. It came from beyond the reef, from deeper water, and it seemed to rise and fall like breathing. Lumen paused in the middle of a playful spiral. The others kept darting, chasing bubbles, leaping into the air. But Lumen listened, his body still, his mind attentive. The humming moved through him like a warm current. "What is that?" he asked, though no one answered. Curiosity was a bright thing in him, but it was evening now, the hour he loved. Still, the humming pulled gently at his attention, like a tide tugging at a shell. He swam toward the edge of the reef. The coral there formed a living wall, full of small openings and shadowed lanes. As Lumen approached, he felt the water change. Beyond the reef, the ocean deepened. The light faded faster, and the temperature shifted into something cooler, more mysterious. The humming sound grew clearer. It seemed to be coming from a place where the seafloor dropped away, where the world opened into the wide, dark blue. Lumen hovered and clicked, sending his echo into the distance. The echo returned with the outline of a large shape, slow moving, and far below. A whale, not one of the enormous roaming whales that passed like floating islands, but a smaller whale, still vast compared to dolphins, still graceful and ancient in the way it moved. It rose slowly, the humming sound wrapping around it like a scarf of music. Moonlight slid down its back in pale ribbons. The whale surfaced for air, and the ocean above it sighed as the whale exhaled a misty breath. Then it dipped below again, moving near the reef as if seeking shelter. Lumen felt a sudden tenderness. The whale's song was not loud or grand. It was soft, as though meant for someone close by. It sounded like comfort. He swam closer. "Hello?" Lumen called, his voice gentle in the water. The whale turned slightly, one dark eye regarding him with calm attention. The humming paused, then resumed, slower. "Hello, little bright one," the whale replied. Her voice felt like deep water, cool and kind and full of time. "I did not mean to disturb your evening." "You're not disturbing it," Lumen said quickly. "I love evenings. I love night. Your humming. It sounds like bedtime." The whale's eye seemed to soften, as if the very idea pleased her. "Bedtime," she echoed, tasting the word. "Yes, that is what I am searching for." Lumen tilted his head. "Searching for bedtime?" The whale drifted closer, careful not to brush the coral. "I have traveled far," she said, "and the currents have been busy. I am tired in my bones, but the place I used to rest has changed. The water there has become loud. I cannot find the quiet I need." Lumen felt the weight of her words. The ocean could be loud sometimes, not in sound alone, but in motion, in restless energy, in the way it could keep a creature awake even when their body pleaded for rest. "I know a quiet place," Lumen said. The whale's humming softened into something like hope. "Do you?" "Yes," Lumen said, "a lagoon, a cave. The water there is calm. It's where I go for bedtime. I could show you." The whale turned her body with a slow grace, aligning herself with Lumen. "If you would," she said. Lumen swam ahead, and the whale followed like a drifting moon. As they moved, the reef greeted them with its living colors, though the colors were dimmer now in the evening light. Fish tucked themselves into crevices. A sea turtle paddled by, unhurried. The water itself seemed to slow, as if respecting the approaching night. As they neared the lagoon, the sounds of the ocean shifted. The busy clicks and splashes faded. The water grew quieter, warmer, like a room lit by a single candle. The whale glided into the lagoon and seemed to exhale relief. "Oh," she murmured, and her voice rippled through the water. "This is gentle." Lumen circled once, proud and pleased. "This is where Bedtime lives," he said. The whale drifted beneath the rocky overhang, where the cave opened in a wide, welcoming curve. She settled there, not sleeping yet, but resting in the hush. The humming returned, softer than before. It filled the cave with a steady comfort, like a lullaby, with no words. Lumen floated near her, feeling the music wash over him. "What is your name?" he asked. The whale's eye glimmered. "I am called Mara," she said. "And you, little bright one?" "Lumen," he replied. Mara's humming shifted into a note of approval. "A fitting name," she said. "You carry light in you." Lumen felt warm inside, as if a gentle lantern had been lit. "Thank you," he said. For a while they rested together in silence, the water cradling them both. Outside the cave, night grew deeper. The surface above turned darker, and the stars brightened, their reflections trembling faintly in the lagoon. Lumen felt his favorite part of bedtime arriving, the moment when the whole world seemed to agree to be quiet. Mara's humming continued, but now it was slow and steady, like a heartbeat. Lumen realized it wasn't only a song, it was a kind of guidance, a way of telling the body, the mind, the ocean itself, it is time to rest. He drifted closer, feeling safe. "I didn't know whales hummed bedtime songs," Lumen whispered. Mara's voice came like a tide. "All creatures have bedtime songs," she said. "Some are loud, some are silent, some are remembered, some must be found again." Lumen thought about this. His bedtime song had always been the evening itself, the dimming light, the cooling water, the hush. But Mara carried her bedtime song inside her, and she shared it like a gift. Outside the cave, the lagoon seemed to shimmer. Tiny glowing plankton drifted by, and the cave ceiling caught their light, turning it into a slow constellation. Mara's humming softened further. Lumen's mind began to float, one half sinking gently into sleep, while the other half listened, calm and safe. He could have stayed like that all night, and perhaps he did, in a way held in the lullaby of the ocean. But just before his awareness drifted too far, he sensed something else. Movement at the entrance of the lagoon. Several dolphins appeared curious, their eyes wide in the dim blue light. Corin was among them, and so was a dolphin named Sarah, who often stayed close to the reef, cautious and thoughtful. They hovered, careful not to intrude. They had followed the sound, perhaps, or followed Lumen's absence from their evening play. Lumen lifted his head slightly. "Hello?" he called softly, not wanting to break the peace. Corin glanced around, then at Mara. "Who is that?" he asked, his voice hushed in a way Lumen had never heard from him before. "A friend," Lumen replied. "Her name is Mara. She needed a quiet place for bedtime." Sarah drifted closer, her gaze gentle. "She's humming," she said, as if the word itself might disturb the sound. Mara turned her eye toward them, calm and unafraid. "Good evening," she said, her voice deep but kind. The dolphins seemed to relax. Reassured by her tone, they hovered at a respectful distance, listening. The humming filled the lagoon, and the dolphins' usual quick movements began to slow. Even Corin, who was always restless at dusk, found his tail drifting more gently, his body loosening as if the water had become softer. "It feels nice," Corin admitted, his voice quiet and surprised. Lumen's heart swelled. "That's what I've been trying to tell you," he said, but his words were playful, not scolding. "Night is beautiful." Sarah's eyes half closed. "It feels like the ocean is tucking itself in," she murmured. Mara's humming shifted into a slightly different pattern, like a lullaby adjusting to a larger room. "You are welcome here," she said. "This place holds enough quiet for all who need it." One by one, the dolphins drifted into the lagoon, not crowding, just arriving like soft thoughts. They did not speak much. They did not need to. The humming spoke for them the way a warm blanket speaks without words. Lumen watched them settle, and something inside him felt deeply satisfied. Bedtime was his favorite, yes. But sharing bedtime, offering it like comfort, felt even better. Night after night, Mara returned to the lagoon. She did not stay forever. Whales had journeys stitched into their lives, paths written in the language of currents and seasons. But for a time she made the lagoon her evening home. And each evening the dolphins gathered there, drawn by the quiet and the song. Lumen began to notice changes in the reef community. During the day, the dolphins still played. They still raced and leapt and chased fish through sunlit water. But as dusk approached, something softened. Conversations grew quieter, movements slowed. The dolphins began to anticipate bedtime the way Lumen always had, not as an ending, but as a gentle arrival. Sarah began to bring little offerings, nothing that could truly be given, of course, in an ocean where everything belonged to the sea. But she would lead the group past the brightest coral heads, as if showing Mara something lovely. Corin would create bubble rings near the lagoon entrance, letting them drift and pop softly, like tiny, harmless fireworks for the night. And Lumen, faithful and glowing with contentment, would swim slow circles around the lagoon before settling, as if tracing a boundary of peace. Sometimes Mara told stories in the deep cadence of her voice. She spoke of far-off waters where ice sang softly as it cracked and shifted. She spoke of warm currents that felt like invisible rivers. She spoke of the stars above the surface and how whales sometimes navigated by them, trusting their steady presence. Her stories were not exciting in a sharp way. They were vast and calm, like slow-moving clouds. Listening to her made the dolphins feel small in a comforting way, the way a child feels safe knowing the night sky is bigger than any fear. Lumen loved these stories, but he loved something else even more. The way Mara's humming would return afterward, smoothing the edges of every thought until sleep felt inevitable. One evening, the lagoon held an especially deep quiet. The surface above was perfectly still, reflecting the moon so clearly it looked like a doorway into another sky. The plankton glowed softly, and even the fish seemed to move more slowly, as if they too were yawning. Mara arrived later than usual, her movements slightly heavier, as if the day had been long. Lumen swam to greet her. "Are you all right?" he asked. Mara's eye looked tired but warm. "I am," she said. "I have been listening to the ocean beyond the reef. There's a change coming, a shift in the currents, a whisper in the deep water." Lumen tilted his head, listening instinctively. He could feel it too, faintly, a subtle difference in how the water pressed against his skin, in how the temperature layered itself. "What kind of change?" he asked. "A gentle one," Mara said, "but it means my path will open again. Soon I will need to travel." Lumen felt something tender pinch inside him, like the smallest tug on a heartstring. He loved bedtime, and he loved sharing bedtime, and Mara had become part of the lagoon's night, like the moon itself. "Oh," he said softly. Mara hummed a note that felt like comfort. "Do not be sad, little bright one," she said. "This lagoon has given me rest, and you have given me kindness. I will carry that with me wherever I go." Lumen floated close, letting the water hold him steady. "Will you forget us?" he asked, though he did not mean it as a serious worry. It was simply the kind of question that rose from a sleepy heart. Mara's eye glimmered. "Whales do not forget songs," she said. "And this place, this bedtime, is a song." That night, Mara's humming was deeper, fuller, as if she poured every ounce of gratitude into it. The dolphins gathered quietly, sensing something important without needing it explained. Corin did not race. Sierra did not wander. They stayed close, listening, letting the lullaby wash through them. Lumen felt his mind drift in a slow, sweet tide. One half of him rested, warm and heavy, while the other half watched the moon's reflection tremble in the water. In that half-awake state, the lagoon seemed to change. The cave's blue light deepened until it felt like velvet. The glowing plankton became brighter, floating like tiny lanterns. The coral outside the lagoon looked like sleeping castles, and Mara's humming. It seemed to rise into the water itself, shaping it, turning the lagoon into something almost magical. Not magic in a startling way, not fireworks or sudden transformations, but the kind of magic that feels like peace, quiet, steady, and profound. As Mara hummed, Lumen imagined bedtime as a place you could visit, like a hidden cove inside your own mind, a place where worries could not swim, a place where the body could loosen and the mind could soften, and the world would hold you without asking anything of you. He imagined that perhaps Mara, traveling through the ocean, carried that place with her. And perhaps, he realized, he did too. In the following evenings, Mara began to teach Lumen something, though she never called it teaching. She simply hummed in different ways, and Lumen listened. Each pattern felt slightly different. One hum was like a slow tide pulling thoughts away from the shore. Another was like drifting through warm water after a long swim. Another was like floating under a night sky, knowing you are safe. Lumen tried to remember them. He repeated them softly in his own dolphin way, clicking and crooning, letting his voice blend with hers. It wasn't the same, not exactly. Dolphins and whales spoke in different languages of sound, but the feeling behind it mattered more than the shape. Gradually, Lumen found he could create a kind of bedtime song himself. It was not as deep as Mara's, but it was bright and gentle, like moonlight on a ripple. When he hummed it, the lagoon seemed to become quieter, as if the water recognized the intention and responded. Sarah listened with her eyes half closed, looking peaceful. Corin, once so restless, began to settle quickly, as if Lumen's song had found a door inside him that led straight to calm. "Lumen," Corin whispered one night, "I think I finally understand why you love bedtime." Lumen smiled in the way dolphins do, his whole body seeming to glow with it. "It's not just sleep," he said softly. "It's the gentleness, the way night doesn't demand anything." Corin nodded, drifting. "It's like being forgiven," he murmured, and then he fell quiet, his mind already floating toward rest. The night before Mara left, the lagoon felt especially still. The current seemed to pause, as if the ocean itself wanted to listen. The dolphins gathered close but not crowded, and Mara floated beneath the cave's overhang. Lumen swam to her side. Mara's eye met his, calm and wise. "You have learned," she said. Lumen felt shy in a sweet way. "I tried," he replied. "I wanted to keep bedtime safe even when you go." Mara hummed, and the sound was warm as a mother's touch. "Bedtime is safe," she said, "because it lives in the rhythm of the world, in the turning of the sky, in the breath of the ocean, and now it lives in you." Lumen felt that gentle pinch again, but it was softened by gratitude. "Will you sing in the deep water?" he asked. "Yes," Mara said, "and when you sing here, the ocean will carry it farther than you can imagine. Perhaps one day, another tired traveler will hear it and follow it the way I followed quiet." The idea filled Lumen with a peaceful purpose. He did not need to chase adventures. He did not need to race the waves. He could be a keeper of bedtime, a guardian of gentle nights. Mara's humming began again, slow and steady, and the lagoon slipped into its familiar hush. Lumen rested. When morning came, the sun filtered into the water in pale beams. The dolphins stirred, stretching in their own ocean way, shaking off sleep like droplets. Lumen drifted awake and looked toward the cave. Mara was gone. The lagoon felt different without her, like a room after a candle has been blown out. But it was not empty. It was calm. The quiet remained. The peace remained. And when Lumen listened, he thought he could still feel the faintest echo of Mara's song in the water, as if the ocean had memorized it. That evening, when dusk arrived, the dolphins gathered again. Corin came, Sarah came. Others came too, drawn by habit now and by something softer than habit. Drawn by the feeling of being held, they waded in the lagoon's gentle water. Lumen swam slow circles, just as he always did. He felt a tender responsibility, but it did not feel heavy. It felt like carrying a warm shell in the palm of the heart. When the sky above darkened and the first stars appeared, Lumen began to hum. At first it was faint, as if he were uncertain the sound would matter. But the lagoon listened. The cave listened. The water listened. Lumen's humming grew steadier, shaping itself into the pattern he had learned, the pattern that felt like a tide pulling thoughts away. The dolphins slowed, their clicks quieted, their bodies drifted in softer arcs. The night settled over them like a blanket. In that moment, Lumen understood fully why he loved bedtime. It was not because day was bad. Day was bright and playful and full of life, but bedtime was a return, a release, a gentle closing of the door, not with a slam, but with a soft, kind click that said, "You are allowed to rest now." And as the dolphins drifted in calm water, Lumen's song became part of the lagoon, woven into the night like silver thread. Far beyond the reef, in deeper water, Mara traveled along her path. The currents carried her forward, and the stars guided her above. And sometimes, when the ocean was especially quiet, she hummed a familiar lullaby. Perhaps she remembered a lagoon, a cave, a young dolphin with light in his name. Perhaps she smiled in the way whales might smile, deep within the water. And the ocean, vast and patient, held all these songs. Now the story begins to slow, like a wave that has reached the shore and is gently returning to the sea. The lagoon is quiet. The water is warm and steady. Lumen's humming is soft, almost like the ocean breathing. The dolphins drift, safe and calm, their minds floating toward rest. You do not need to think about anything now. You do not need to follow any path. The night is doing the work for you, smoothing the world into stillness. Imagine the surface above, dark and peaceful, reflecting the stars. Imagine the slow, steady rhythm of the sea, in and out like breathing, over and over like a lullaby. Let your thoughts become like little bubbles, rising and popping gently. Let your body become heavy, supported, held. Let the day slip away without effort. Lumen continues to hum in the lagoon, a gentle keeper of bedtime. The ocean listens, the night listens, and everything settles into quiet. Good night, dear traveler. Sleep well.